There we go, Les. Another Sunday. And
Another one.
how are you?
I'm not too bad. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, that's good. And for once this Sunday, and hopefully we can repeat this, we've got a guest who's going to share some great accounts with us. So I hope you guys are going to fire a few questions at our guest, Jack. And yeah, if someone comes round, we've got Tom Dongo, who we're talking to on Thursdays, a veteran ufologist. I think Tom's late 70s, maybe 80 years old. So he's got a lot of experience and he's going to share some of his accounts. And it's deep research what he's got to share. So I'm looking forward to that one. So tune into that.
Yeah, and just let me say at this point, we have got over 13,500 subscribers. We are aiming for that 14,000 pretty shortly. So if you're not subscribed, please press the like and subscribe button to this channel.
Yeah, most appreciated that, as we keep stressing. But obviously, it's up to you guys. You don't have to do it, but we would appreciate it if you do. And let's have a look who we've got in chat. I can't see for some reason again how many there's in, but I can see some names here. I know Lynn is in, and Mrs. Linney. I think Mia Girl will be in. Steve Colling, Appeaser, Jack 1994, Jojo, Diane Farrell, Stephen Colling. Let's have a look. Stargaze Eternal, Susan Wiseman, Mike Disabled Welshman, Tracy McKay, Henrietta Carrot. F&D, let's have a look. Richard Crooks, I nearly said that twice then. Ben 22, Rob's in, Blue Shift, and there's loads more. Jack Hills is in. Good to see you this weekend, Jack. Enjoyed your company. And Barbara. Lee Roscoe's having the chair and doing the moderating for us. Thank you, Lee. I think Alison will get in later. Dragonborn's in. Olgie. And I'm going to have to stop. Moondog, Lee Prendergast, stop. Please stop.
Yeah, and sounds like great support on the chat, and welcome as always, everybody. And hope you enjoy this this hour, or less than an hour now. Well, I just want to start off a little topic, Paul, which I noticed this week, picked up on social media, and this was a video that come from, I think, Darlington, North England there, and it's looking back towards the Catterick Garrison. The Catterick Garrison is an army garrison. And but there was all these lights, which seemed quite large, in my opinion, and even though they looked pretty far away. Now, the consensus, without spoiling the broth here, is that people were saying there were flares. I don't know. You've seen it, Paul. What's your opinion?
I've seen it, and I'll go with general opinion here. If people think the flares, and you've got military personnel saying the flares, or they think the flares, then that's good. But have we seen anything from the military holding their hands up and saying, yes, it was us? I don't know. I'm not saying it's a true unknown, but I thought the whole idea of flares was to illuminate the area. And I've looked at the picture and I don't see them doing that. There's 6 in the picture I saw. I'm not saying the flares. I'm just throwing it out there that we've seen flares over at sea. We've seen flares.
Yeah.
And that's what they're designed for. I don't see no smoke either. But if the flares, what do you guys think in chat?
Yeah, so after the show, go and check it out. Find it all around social media. Right then, without further ado, then
awake and
if you've got any questions for Paul and his guest tonight, please put them in caps, and I'll probably get to read them out later on. Without wasting any more time, we're going to bring Jack Willow on, our guest, and I'll disappear into the background, Paul.
Okay, let's just fire some questions. Come back with questions when you're ready. Hi, Jack. How are you?
Hi, Paul. Good to be with you.
Well, lovely to see you, and thank you for agreeing to share a few of these stories after we throw it out over the last few weeks. You know, inviting people, and we hope we get more people in. So, as the name says, Jack Willow, and you've had a few interesting and strange encounters and experiences in your life, and that's what you're going to do. You're going to share a few with us. So you start wherever you want to start, Jack.
So I think it was important to me to come on, having been in the background for about 4 years, Paul. And when you said, does anybody want to share? I've been listening to other people's accounts, which I found really valuable, and thought I need to actually be brave enough to come and share some of my own. So, but the first experience in my memory was being around 6 years old, and we lived in a Victorian end terrace house in Coventry, and I as a very, very frightened child, I always felt I'd got an older sister who was 18 months older than me, who was very confident. But in that house, I was always scared. And I remembered we were in a little small bedroom in bunk beds. I remembered almost looking in the corners and looking in the fireplace, because I felt as if they were watching and listening, but I didn't know where they were or what they were.
And even at that age, it's strange that you're thinking they.
Absolutely, it was they, and it was as if I could see something that could show me that they were listening or they were there. So feeling a presence of being watched and listened to. And as I say, about 6, our mum and dad at the time were in the next bedroom, and myself and my sister can remember our mum telling us that one night their double bed started to shake uncontrollably, and my mum couldn't wake my dad up. So as hard as she tried, she's on the bed shaking, but couldn't wake him. So that was an interesting little one to hear about. But for me, I was on the bottom bunk. There's our bunk beds are here, and there's our bedroom door. So I'm sort of lying here, and the bedroom door's here. So right. I woke up in the middle of the night, and to my right, standing in the doorway, was an illuminated Sikh warrior. So a huge man that was stood with his arms crossed, a sort of deadpan face. It's quite severe, I'd say, but neutral. I was I mean, it was like a split second of waking up and looking, and being horrified. So I sort of scrambled down the bed. So went under the quilt, went to the bottom of the bed, put like the covers over me and counted to 100. So in like my little child's head, I'm thinking it won't be there. I'm dreaming. So I come up after 100, and I've got a much better view then, Paul, because I'm at the bottom of the bed looking across. So I pull the covers back, and it's still blinking there.
And it's still looking at you.
So I'm now, instead of looking to it at the side, I'm now looking almost like at it now on a proper angle. And I'm thinking, writing it down and thinking about it now, that there was no light in our bedroom, but it was, I could completely see it. There was, could see him. There was a purple, like violet tinge to it, light to it, illuminated.
Yeah.
And I didn't look much because I was absolutely terrified, but I could see a turban. I could see sort of clothes that were like a sort of a tunic-y type thing, a sword and a small daggerish thing. But just the horror, and already being a little bit of a sensitive and scared child, the horror of. And I couldn't even shout for my sister, because I used to put my feet up underneath the bed and press the springs. Yeah. I didn't even dare try and shout her or make any noise. So and then it's like the lights went off, and I'd gone back to sleep, and looking back, that I found that really interesting. That I didn't lie there ruminating, going, oh my god. It was the minute that I looked and saw it the second time. I was then light out. I was unconscious, asleep.
And at that age, Jack, you wouldn't be thinking about the light. Like you said, it's only afterwards, as you approach adulthood and things, and you digest what you're thinking. Because I know when I wrote Night People, and I think I even wrote it in Night People, I don't understand how I could see them in a dark room.
Yeah.
And yet I could. And you're saying something similar, not the same things, but there's similarities there. How are we able to see these things in complete darkness? And you could, and then you said it is as though the light went out, even though you're not aware that there's a light on.
Yes,
it's strange. Did you tell your sister the next day?
I told my sister, and my sister can remember to this day. And another strange part to it, Paul, was I told Catherine at the time, as we were little girls, and we forgot it. We forgot it for 20, 30 years, or 20 odd years. And my sister's son saw an apparition of a Sikh warrior type being, and he didn't know about mine.
Oh, we're going to say, so you'd never passed this on to him?
Never. We'd forgotten all about it. Yeah. So it never come up. It like just got lost in the mist of time. So then when my sister told me her son had seen, I started looking. I started Googling Sikh warriors and looking at the images, and I couldn't really find one. I found one that felt a little bit familiar, but I still couldn't find this. I couldn't find it. I'm thinking about writing this down for tonight, Paul. I was thinking, well, was I thinking of like Aladdin, of like a genie, but it wasn't. There wasn't the muscles. It wasn't something that maybe you'd have thought would have come out of my child's mind and projected onto it, and it was. And the words sort of Sikh warrior were there, and I don't know where the heck that would have come from.
Yeah, because you wouldn't have known really at that age, would you? And
no,
it's interesting. And you know, in some, I'm not saying all abduction type accounts, sometimes these things, but it's not even presenting as anything familiar to you, is it?
No, not at all. No, it was. I mean, it was the shock. It was the shock of my little lifetime, waking up and seeing that in the doorway.
So how, what do you think to the? Because a lot of people have this amnesia that people seem to suffer. You have something so traumatic. Do you think it's almost PTSD, and you think, I don't want to even remember this? And then were the memory revived after your sister's son told you about that incident?
It was always there, Paul. It was burnt into my memory so strongly. And there was, again, when we were little, around a similar age, there was a massive dead snake at the top of our road in a Hessian bag, and it was really hot summer, like 72 or 73. And the memory, now I'm 56, but the memory of that smell is burnt in, and the same with that apparition.
Yeah,
it's so burnt in.
I thought you said you'd forgot about it temporarily.
I'd in that I hadn't shared it with people.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's still very strong and vivid, but I hadn't brought it up. You know, it just wasn't something that you spoke about going forward.
So age 6, and now over, it's 50 years ago.
Yeah.
So obviously, probably it's dissipated now as regards thinking about it every day. But from 6 to, I don't know, say 16, did you think about it most nights? Were it on your mind?
No, it wasn't, no. Paul. It was quite far away.
So it weren't fearful then, really. You were scared at the time.
Yes.
But it weren't something that made you go to bed feeling terrified every night.
And that's a really good question, because I don't remember even after. So the next night and all of the nights, I didn't go to bed going, oh my God, what if I see that again? And I've never, like, you've just put light on that, but no, I wasn't scared, even though I was terrified at the time.
And now then, on reflection, what do you we know what you think it was? It looked like a Sikh warrior. But what do you think its purpose was now? You're never going to know, but what do you think its purpose was?
So from my position now, I think it was a door guardian. So I think it was a spirit, a type of spirit it was doing a protection role. And our mum had left when that happened, and our dad may have been quite poorly. I mean, he was quite poorly a couple of years later and was hospitalized. But I think as little children, we may not have realized how poorly he was. Yeah. So I have got a sense that it was a guardian protective spirit. Yeah. And even thinking about it, Paul, was thinking last night, is this okay? Is this okay to be talking about?
You're taking words out of my mouth because I'm thinking, I might be on the wrong track here, but I'm thinking you read Night People, and you said it revived things a little bit after reading it, and that's other people have written to me and emailed me and told me similar. And does it worry you talking about it?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
No.
And with the Sikh warrior, as I was thinking, is this okay to talk about? I felt as if I felt like a yes. This is okay. Yep. This is okay to be sharing.
Yeah. Okay.
What we didn't know, Paul, until the last sort of year or two, my sister had done some research on the house, and none of us were ever aware that a previous old lady had passed away in that house, that she'd taken her own life.
Right.
And the immediate next door neighbour, the husband, he had also in the adjoining garden. And a last little bit that come to me was, we left that house when I was about 9, and particularly in the bedrooms, Paul, I went round and touched all of the walls and said goodbye to them in a really sentimental way. And I wonder now, was I actually saying goodbye to something else in the house, not the material?
Because you decided to do that, and you're not somebody saying go and say goodbye. So it's a kind of blessing to the house that came onto you as a 9-year-old child. That's unusual, isn't it?
And it's made no sense over the years. Again, it's not come back a lot, but I just remember thinking how strange.
Absolutely.
And it felt a loss. But I wonder if I was actually saying goodbye to
the house,
whatever spirit was in spirit in the house that had maybe looked after this sensitive child or protected her in some way. Yeah.
Have you ever, I don't mean got knocked on the door and gone in the property, but have you passed it since, or have you looked at it since?
So we a few times, Paul, and we went last summer, myself and my sister Catherine, and we couldn't get, it's on a really main road in Coventry, so we couldn't get parking for love nor money. But we are going to knock, and we're going to, even if they'll let us see maybe the back garden, we are going to knock and explain that we lived there in the 70s, and see if they'll maybe allow, ask us in. But we're definitely going to go back.
I did the same thing with the house that I was brought up in, and I knocked and said I lived there, and they looked at me like I were an alien. They did, honestly. But there you go. So I'm tipping there's some questions, but that's not a problem if Les will get to them when he gets to them. But can we move forward to age 11?
Yes.
And I've just written the fierce star, and you'll know what that means, I think, won't you?
Absolutely. So I was quite tomboyish, Paul, and I used to make I've got an Airfix like plane with Boeing 737 or whatever it was. Do you remember, with your little enamel pot paints?
Yeah.
So out of my window, the houses in front dipped a little bit, and there was like some old waste ground, so you'd got quite a good view out of my window of the starry night. So I'd watch the planes going over. I knew the flight paths, I knew the planes. And one night I'm watching a particular star, and I can see a star coming closer and closer, and initially I'm just like, I'm thinking that it's going to get closer and turn into a plane, so you can see the lights then. But it didn't. It just, in fact, it was speeding up and getting brighter and brighter, and coming closer. And in the end, I pulled the curtains over that fast. My heart was beating. But as a young kid, the thought was, I can't let them see me. I don't want them to know I'm looking. And it was such a short experience, but the fear was again really, really palpable.
And it's almost as though there's something subliminally warning you or giving you some kind of message, and you're not aware of it. You are, the fear's kicked in, but you're not even sure why. And there's no there's no sort of messages coming through into your mind saying beware or be careful. No. It's strange, isn't it?
It was really strange that, because again, writing it down, I'm thinking, where was like my natural curiosity just going, I might see what that is in a minute. It was proper abject fear of they can't see me, they can't know I'm looking.
But obviously they did. This is the intermind connection.
Yeah.
And we've got Leslie, so I'm assuming we've got a few questions, have we, Les?
Yes, we certainly have. And I'm just going to put this on the screen from Karen. And
hi, Karen.
Jack, I'm sure many of us will take your strength of courage on speaking up. Bless you, she says.
Well, yeah, it's great that Jack's come forward and agreed to share these with us, and I hope other people do, because as me and Liz always say, every Sunday it's your show, guys, so let's hear more of it.
Yeah,
thank you, and thanks, Karen.
Yeah, I'll echo what Karen says. It takes a special kind of bravery, I think, Paul, to come with these stories from your childhood. Yeah. So we've got a question from
well, you're doing that. I can see TP Hunting, AMG, Mag Sue, Tonya Morrison, Tony Worrell, Margaret Webster. Go on, Liz.
Tim Colin. Hi, Jack. Do you think it was Jean looking back now? I know you've gone through some explanation of what you think it is, Jack, but could it be on that side of things?
Well, I don't know that much about the jinns, and I've from the little bit that I'm aware of is they can sometimes be a trickster energy. I don't know, Stephen. Do jinns sort of help? Can they be a helper spirit and a protector spirit? So yeah, really, really good question, Stephen.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily think all these things are bad, so there could be good elements to this as well, yeah? And that's what you came away feeling, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, I did.
Okay, and before I go any further, I've been picked up on my on the Darlington story. Fire Spirit is saying it's Stang Forest area that I've seen over towards Pierce Bridge. They're not over the garrison. So he's giving us a direction of where.
Yeah, thanks, Fire Spirit. And I didn't know. I'd just seen picture, and obviously a picture can be deceiving. But I thought for 6 of them we'd have seen quite a lot of illumination. If you look at the sky around them, it don't look any different in colour. Nice.
No. Okay, so we have a. I know you've talked about this, Jack. But Roddy's asking, have you done any research on the property or area? Have you done any more in-depth search than what you've described already?
No, Rod, just that research that my sister had done, which sort of told us, about some of the occupants in the property, and that there had been an upsetting history there. And
there's Rod's thumbnail, which is my favourite thumbnail. I like that one. And that is Rod that's actually on that thumbnail, I think.
Yeah, that's his real image. Okay, Zeno is asking, hi, Jack, did you manage to get an impression as to how tall this thing was? Did it look 6-7 foot? At the age of 6, I thought you read anything that could have produced that image in your mind.
I doubt you could, not thought.
Yeah, Zeno, so it pretty much filled the door. So I would say sort of 6-7 foot. And I was I'd got mild dyslexia and didn't really read very much at that age. I'm an avid reader now, but so there wasn't anything within fiction that I can think of. And then also trying to hold myself to account and thinking, have a superimposed, as I say, things from like Arabian Nights. I couldn't find the overlap. I could have easily picked something more childish if it had come from my memory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
And, thanks for that. Are you okay for some more questions, Jack?
Yeah.
You okay? Yeah. Zeno is asking, and I know you talked about this, but do you know if anyone in your family has experienced anything? Is it possible there's an old artifact somewhere in the house at the time that could be harnessed, that could have harnessed the energy?
Well, other than my mum experiencing their double bed shaking violently, we didn't, and me seeing the apparition, we didn't have anything else that any of us can recollect. And when we first moved into the house, or when we were about to move in, it still had a lot of the original Victorian features, which it was a Courtaulds house, so they ripped them all out and put sort of a new kitchen in, and later on the house has still got the outdoor bathroom, the outdoor toilet. So just thinking about that now, there was quite a lot of work that happened to the house just before we moved in and while we were in it. So did that disturb something? Possibly.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Okay, and Yorkshire Puffin is I've got a little bit of an explanation here. There is a story of a Sikh soldier called Baba Harbhajan Singh, who is said to show up in the dreams of Indian soldiers. They say he's still doing his duty in the spirit realm.
Wow.
Okay.
Thank you, Yorkshire Puffin. I'll look into that. It felt like somebody doing the duty. The arms crossed. It felt like somebody was to attention. And the way you might see a soldier, military, or like a security guard or a bouncer, it was very I'm here and I will not be moved.
A protector kind of thing. Yeah.
And Mike Ox Brown, I know you've covered some of this. When you saw the warrior, was there any building work on the property? The TV show Uncanny suggested building work can unleash memories from materials in walls.
That's interesting. Yeah, and you just covered that because you said there were a bit of building work, but yeah, it's a great question, Mike.
Okay, and I think that's all I've got for the moment.
Okay. We'll move on. I just want to say, I just see TP Hunting's in, Scotch Mist, Zeno, Foz Fox, Tony Worrell. We've done Blue Shift, and see Linny's there. And let's have a think. Oh, John, I'm looking forward to meeting you tomorrow, John. So that'll be good. And yeah, let's move on then. Strange dreams, early 20s or early to mid 20s, Jack.
Yeah. So the first house that I lived in, myself and young family, we took the house. We took the house when I was pregnant, so we were decorating, and we were aware that an elderly couple had lived there before us, and both of them had become quite poorly and had passed. But while they'd been alive at the end, they'd had dementia, and there were some signs of that in the house. And then sort of 5 or 6 years passed, and again, I sort of forget about them. I forget about the story, and it's a little bit of a difficult period of my life, and I'm about to leave that property soon. But in that time of the last couple of weeks before leaving, I started having really different dreams that were really savage, Paul. When I woke up, it was a quality of having actually been in a fight or battle with somebody. And it was that in the dream, I'm awake, I'm in the same bedroom, but there's an old man, and I can't even say an old woman, but a slightly smaller person that I think is an old woman. And they're grabbing me and dragging me towards the window, but I'm fighting them. I'm kicking and screaming all the way. And they're trying to get me to the window and push me out.
These are reoccurring dreams, Jack.
So I had several in that last phase, and I was thinking about Dr. Martin Abbas's the Stratification tool, and thinking that level of stress, did that open something up at that time where I was just maybe less protected, more open, and that an influence came in, because I'd completely forgotten about the couple, But in those last couple of weeks, as I say, I was waking up panting, and not the way that you wake up from a nightmare and go, oh my God, I'm glad to. It was, what the hell's just happened to me? I've like been fighting an elderly couple, and in the dream I'm hanging onto the inside of the window, onto the window frame, you know.
And the dream, did you feel the dream was so real and vivid? Because I bet people in chat have had dreams like this, if that's what they are, that you actually feel like you're living inside the dream. In
the dream, absolutely, yeah. It did.
Were you aware you were dreaming? That's not as silly as it might sound, because as people in chat, correct me if I'm wrong, have you? I'll throw it out to everybody. Have you had a dream and you know you're actually having a dream? And you're aware. The self is aware that it's dreaming.
Awareness. So it got that lucid dreaming quality, Paul. Of like, it felt like I was fighting for my life in it. And this is, what the hell's just happened, because this is so different to and it felt like a spiritual attack, and I didn't have the words for it then. And
as you said, obviously we aren't going into any detail. It was a traumatic time for you anyway.
Yeah. And
suddenly you know, being immersed in that, I don't know what that kind of mood that you'd been thrown into, and the vibration, the way that you were, and then suddenly the dreams have turned dark as well. That's fascinating, isn't it? I don't know what people will think to that. I'm sure people will have experienced things like that themselves. So what did they taper off then when you left that property?
Completely stopped, Paul. Yeah, I never dreamt of those, you know, that couple or the man and the smaller figure that I think was perhaps a woman. Never had a dream like that again. I've had different types of dreams, but not had that. I didn't have that one where I was being pushed out the window by them.
So excuse me. So this set of dreams has stayed with you in your mind, has been quite profound. What do you think there's a message in them then?
So I wonder with that situation, was it I was getting ready to leave anyway, so emotionally and mentally I'd left the building, but I wonder if being in such a state of stress and anxiety, that if there was some residue within that house, and it had been a very, very unhappy house, Paul, for that 6 years, that some energy that was still in there somehow manifested and managed to, you know, part of my consciousness
interact with
it and go, get out, you know, get out of here, we want you. And maybe it always had, but in that slightly altered, heightened state, I was able to perceive it.
It's interesting. I mean, the childhood, the seek, the star, which I've called the fear star, and this. I mean, this might not even be paranormal, but it just the dream state. But and a lot of us might have experienced it, but it just shows the power of our minds. I'm not saying you've created something, but it's put you in that zone, hasn't it? The mood you're in and everything. Let's assume it's nothing paranormal and there's nothing to do with the house. I still think it's so interesting that your mind or something within you, potentially, if it's not paranormal, has put you into that zone and that state. And if there is a paranormal element to it, then that state of mind that you are in has attracted the darkness and attracted the kind of bad things that came into your mind. And I think we've probably all been in those places at some point in our lives, maybe not having the same dreams, but similar things. Because I've noted that at times of trauma, things do seem to attach, don't they? Things do seem to manifest, you know, and it's the concentration of the mind, I think. And simple examples are a bereavement, and you're concentrating on the person that you love, and many instances where people say, he was sat at the bottom of my bed, or she was sat at the bottom of my bed, and I saw them. Do we actually, are we creating that? Is our mind so incredible that we can actually create the apparition of something, or is it real?
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to displace anything for people that think that the spirit is real, because
Yeah,
I'm with
yeah.
you on it. But I'm just wondering about the power of the mind. Could we create these things? And if we create them, do they become ghosts? Do you know what? I just think it's great that you've shared that with us, Jack, and throw it out there for other people. Missing person, Steve Stockton. Great to see you, Steve. See my daughter-in, Laura, Carol Pointer, Helen Owen, and Steve Stockton. Get over to Steve's channel if you haven't done already, people, because that guy's got a voice like velvet, and he just tells the most amazing accounts of not just missing people, all sorts of things. Steve is a great guy to know and be around. So, shall we move on? And I'm interested in your work friend's experience, and I've written down ash and butterflies, which I know will mean something to you.
It does. So I think this was a turning point for me, Paul, from being really interested in sort of all things sort of paranormal and different, to actually having an experience where I got absolute validation that something else is happening. So I've been on some work training, and at the end we get everybody got together and you'd have a pint and you'd be chatting, and I'd got a really good work friend who started telling me that some strange things were happening to him and in his home. So having that interest, I'm like pulling the information out. And he said that over several mornings he'd been waking up, and one morning he'd have scratches on him that he'd got no idea where they'd come from. His boxer shorts had been ripped. He'd got a light covering of ash. And I was saying, your wife's not doing this to you, joking, thinking that, and I didn't really seriously.
So the light covering of ash, I know you're probably going to get into it, but what, all over his body?
So he didn't say, and I can't remember how in depth I asked him, and I didn't want to stop the flow, because it was somebody that wasn't into anything woo-woo or different or alternative, and then. So I was really interested in that, but the bit where he said, and things are starting happening where he's finding that something's happened to him when he's woken up, and then he's going to his car, opening his boot, and one day there was like loads of butterflies came out, and then the week after there was loads of like ants in there, and I'm thinking this is something paranormal, something's happening to him particularly. And then we went home, Paul, and I forgot all about it. So, but I had said to him at the time, because I'd been interested in Wicca and neo-paganism. I'd read a couple of books that weren't brilliant, but I got a genuine like open curiosity, but particularly around protection. How do we go through this world and make sure that we're as protected as possible, our energy field? So I'd said to the friend, do you mind? Can I put a protection around you? And he was like, yeah, of course you can. And then I promptly forgot all about it. So a couple of weeks later, it came back into my mind on a Saturday. So I hadn't told my friend.
Well, I know where you're going with this before you say it. But yeah, go on. So
that I sort of went into a light meditation, Paul, and imagined the friend. So I've got a very strong. I'm really able to visualize and see things in visualization. So I imagined the friend, and then built this elaborate bubble around him. So he's in the middle, and then within the bubble, I put like white light, and on the outside of the bubble, like black obsidian, and then I put another bubble of a protective shield around him, and maybe more. I remember making it really, really elaborate, really getting into it, throwing all the whistles and bells at it, and then 3 hours later, I can hear my work phone ringing in my bag, and it never rings at the weekend, and it's my work friend, and he's really pissed off, Paul. He's like, whatever you've done, undo it, take it off. And he's just repeating it, whatever you've done, take it off. And I'm going, what's happened? And he said, well, my little boy, who's 4, is at the top of the landing, won't go into his bedroom. He's crying his eyes out. There's an old man standing there at spirit, and he can't get into his bedroom to go to sleep. Whatever you've done, take it off. So I did. I went back into and had to visualize undoing everything, Paul, like to all the mind as far as I could remember. I took it, and like he didn't ring me back. And when I saw him at work on the Monday, he was like, you know, within half an hour, we took him back up and he just went to bed, and he never mentioned the old man again.
So that's fascinating, isn't it? And once again, Jacqui, I think nobody underestimates power of the mind, but it's a bit of a cliche to say it, but that's the power of your mind when you focused, and potentially it really is. I knew you were going to say that he'd rang you. I expected him to say, I'm at peace. So you did throw me. I didn't expect him to say, take it off.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I thought, this guy's going to contact you. But so obviously then, I say obviously, maybe this presence that was interacting with him, obviously you took the attention off him because he couldn't interact theoretically. Yeah. It's gone to the boy. You know, is that what you thought?
Absolutely. Well, I was blown away, Paul, the fact that he didn't know, because I'd forgotten and I didn't tell him. You know, it's sort of over 25 years ago, and we've got the old mobile phones, but they weren't great. And I just thought, well, you know, a little bit, almost throw away. I'll do that thing for my friend, I promised. And the minute that I heard that work phone ringing in the bag, and I knew something was up. And I didn't expect him to say, my little boy now can't go in the bedroom because he's seeing there's an old man standing there. And again, it was an old terrace property, joined terrace houses.
So it's all, there's some kind of talent. Is it no, it's not a talent, it's a gift that you seem to have got then, Jack. That even if you play it down, but what you've just described to me and to, I don't know how many people are in chat, I just, for some reason I can't see, but what you've described to me and the people listening, I'm sure people will be thinking the same. And if you don't subscribe to what Jack's saying, then that's fine. You know, we're all entitled to his opinion, but you seem sincere and you're telling me this story, and I kind of knew what you were going to say, and I think other people will. It's almost, there's a talent, a gift there. Have you worked on it? Have you tried to do this in the past?
So I think at that point, I was becoming interested in sort of what was out there, what alternative things were out there that could benefit like our health, lift us up. And there's another little one, Paul, that it goes into. So I'd gone and done some training with an old couple in the Cotswolds. Just a couple of us had gone down, and they did a little crystal course. They were really into, they sourced crystals and found them and dedicated the very highly educated people. But you know, in their later years, it was crystals, and they taught us how to do a thing called double locking a crystal. So I'd gone away and did it a couple of weeks later, and I'm in the house on my own. My son had gone to his dad's for the day, and I'm going through this procedure, and I'm following how to do it, and I do it, and I've got this little quartz crystal on me. So I sort of put it in my pocket or take it with me, go off on my motorbike, go off to the pub to the next town, and I've been there once or twice. I know a couple of people in there. And I popped to the loophole, and it's like going out into an outhouse. And as I'm going, an old chap passes me, and I know him a little bit. I think he's of Romany heritage.
Yeah. And
he leans towards me and whispers, "You've been double locking your crystals, haven't you?" How could he? I never went back to the pub, but Paul, how could he know?
Yeah.
Nobody knew. Nobody knew. My son didn't know.
And it's the most bizarre thing to say to anybody, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
I'd never heard of the terminology. I hadn't seen it in a book. You know, it's a little ritual sort of programming that you're going through. And I'm thinking, have you picked that from my head? How have you seen it?
Yeah. It's not like he said, is it you that's come on that motorbike? Now, do you know what I mean? It's just so off the wall to say that. I bet it shocked you, didn't it?
I was that stunned. It was like a heart clapper because he didn't know where I lived. He didn't really know what town I lived in. It was a really vague acquaintance. But to just whisper that to me, it was like somebody saying, I can't even. It was like somebody saying something really personal. Like I know what things that you picked out to put on this morning. Yeah. It was, how could you possibly ever know?
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
You're going to have to put up with that phone, people. It's mine. It'll go stop, obviously, in a minute. So Les has got some questions.
Yeah, well, just before we go to any questions, we're just going to do a little bit of self-promotion and promotion for the conference that you're speaking at, Paul. So we'll put that on so people can see the conference. Tell us a little bit about what's happening there. And
well, it's just a full day of talking unexplained phenomena. Myself, Camilla, Barry Fitzgerald, Nick Kyle and Sarah Kyle. Ian's there, Linny, Steve Meara. And just a full day of talking about the unexplained. I'm going to talk about Humminby. I know Ian's going to cover his experiences basically from childhood to where he's at today. I'm not going to go into detail about Humminby or Ian's. We'll do it on the day. And I'm looking forward to talking about Humminby because I'll share a few things I haven't shared before. So, yeah, it'll be a great day for everybody. Thanks, Les.
Yeah, and books and DVDs. I'll put the website
books and
on
DVDs, truthproof.uk for the books if anybody's interested in the paperbacks, or if you're interested in Wolfland's hard copy. If it's ordered from the website, it'll get sent out the next day unless it's weekend. And you can also get these on eBay, and the ebooks are on Amazon as Kindle versions. And we've got Wolfland's DVD on Amazon Prime. If you'd like to look at that, and stand by what I say, I think it's the best film that's been done on cryptid phenomena, certainly in UK. I would say that because my and Les have done it, but I believe it to be true. No, I seriously do. So
I will not argue. I will not argue with that. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to put a question on, and this one's actually for you, but it's probably for another show, Paul. But you tell me. From Darryl Shaw, please tell us about the two Men in Blacks you met on Bempton Cliffs around 2002.
Hi, Darryl. Well, obviously, we're talking to Jack tonight, but it's probably not one I'll talk about because I never have. And I know I've written about it. It were even debatable writing about what I've called the ticks. When we were editing it, and I didn't know even if I wanted to put it on in the book because, like what it's kind of rings true. So it applies to what Jack's talked about today. It's almost as though you're reviving these things and you're waking them up a little bit by getting involved and talking about them. You have to excuse me. One sec. Let's just fire some questions. I'll just put this outside.
Yeah, sure. He's going to put it in a big water tub, I think, Jack. Yeah, that's what he's going to do with that one.
No, I'm not.
Yeah. Okay, no, he's back. Okay, then. So we've got a question from, I think it's Tony Worrell. Big up to Jack for talking about our experiences. And also, so true about seeing something strange burning in your mind.
Absolutely. These things do get imprinted, Tony.
Okay.
Thank you.
And thank you for that, Tony. Tracy McKay Mumbai. The Sikh warrior has been noted as a guide before. He came to a friend in a development circle.
Excellent. Thanks, Tracy. And I know Tracy's visited us on cliff tops and interesting things that she picks up on as well. So value your opinion there. Thank you.
Ian Linney. Jack, thanks for coming on. Go with your gut in thinking you know what he was.
Yeah.
I
think he's right, isn't he?
Yeah. And let's have a look then. We've got Rod. I wonder if the people who live there now have experiences. I wonder if the phenomenon can follow a family. That's an interesting question, Jack.
Yeah, can I just nip into that just before you go to another question? And you probably want to answer that as well, Jack. Obviously, when you go and visit this property, you probably have to be guarded in what you say to them because you don't want to they might be perfectly happy, and it might just put some seeds of fear into their minds.
Absolutely, yeah. We'd be sort of read the situation depending on who was there, Paul. So I wouldn't offer it, and I wouldn't want to put that into their awareness if it's not happening.
Yeah, there's a house just a few hundred yards away that's haunted from me, and I used to work with a lad who'd experienced it, and I know Laura, who's in chat, my daughter, and my other daughter Jess, they'd experienced it when they babysat for him, and it were quite sort of heavily trafficked with spirit. And it's ironic that I didn't know Linny then. Linny visited house as well, and he experienced it, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And the people that are in it now, and I spoke to them, and I was very cautious how I spoke about it, and they said, "Do you mean the children?" Yeah, we hear them all the time, running about. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So anyway, I'm conscious of time. I'll shut up. Go on, Les.
Stephen Collin is saying, don't eat mouldy bread. It can cause something called ergot poisoning, which is prevalent in the Middle Ages, and it caused hallucinations.
Oh, right. I don't think she said she'd eaten any mouldy bread, Stephen.
No, I don't think. But
I get it. I get it. You know,
it's interesting. Yeah.
Thanks for that, Stephen.
Offline, Garrix, we don't recommend the use of them little red spotted mushrooms. Well, they're big, aren't they? But
and thanks for Karen for the monetary donation tonight. Always appreciated, Karen. Thank you very much.
And Mike as well. There was someone called Mike, and thank you.
Yeah, I've just got him at the bottom of the screen. Yeah. Stephen Collin is saying, I've had out-of-body experiences before. They are strange.
Is that after eating mouldy bread?
Probably, yeah. And the mushrooms, I reckon.
Yeah, Steve's okay. He knows I'm only joking. But yeah, absolutely.
And question from me, I think, this one. Who shot the bear on the wall behind your head, Jack?
Oh, it's just a little black bust of a black bear. I really love black bears, and they're really important to me. So
excellent.
Yeah, no shooting, no animals were harmed.
No animals were harmed. Yeah. And Scotch Mist, does dyslexic folk think differently? I wonder if they have more paranormal experiences than others.
I think the unexplained is attracted to people who think slightly differently. So, you know, what do you think, Jack?
Yeah, really interesting. Yeah, possibly. I mean, there's lots of things, aren't there, that people who are left-handed may use a different part of the brain. So, for all sorts of reasons. But yeah, that's really interesting, Scotch Mist.
Okay, thanks for that, Jack. And Cryptid Kitty, did any of Jack's grandmothers have experiences?
Not that I'm aware of. And there were one grandmother died when I was very young, and the other was quite remote. So not that I'm aware of, Kitty.
No. And I see Stephen's put, not a chance of anything dodgy with me. We know that, Stephen. The joke, the mouldy bread. I probably ate it myself, but there you go.
And I've just got to mention to just a gentle reminder to Tony, Stephen Collin. Stephen Collin, actually, when you write things in caps, Stephen, I keep thinking they're a question, but sometimes you're replying to other people's comments in the chat.
I got you. Good point.
Yeah,
good
so
point.
It's just throwing me a little bit. And so if you could resist, that would be helpful. Okay.
Ellen Owens said in normal text, I'm dysclacular. We've got that one.
Yeah, we've got that one. Yeah. And I think we are out of questions.
Okay,
I'll just going to throw this one on. This will probably be the last one that I can find tonight, unless anybody gets a quick fire question in. AMG, why are humanity asking questions and have no answers? Well, that's a biggie.
It's a biggie, but why are we asking questions? Because that's the nature of us, AMG, isn't it? You know, we ask the questions. I suppose people interested in the subject are UFOs, cryptids, ghosts. Ghosts probably more than UFOs. I seem to, you can go back in time, you get lots of reports of UFOs, but you get people interested in mediumship and spirits going back hundreds of years, but we still haven't got any answers to it, have we? We touch on it. New equipment, thermal cameras, infrared cameras, we can get closer to it, but we still don't know what it is, and we've got no answers. But we still have to question everything, AMG, and I'm sure you'll do the same. Why not? If we stopped questioning it, we'd probably just be wandering around like sheep, accepting rather than questioning.
I've just found another question, and it's from Scotch Mist. Jack, do you think that the man reading man was sent as a kind of warning?
Oh, really good point. I didn't. It made me aware that there are people that walk amongst us who have different skills. So somehow that man that I didn't know but had loosely met once or twice had really personal information. So it just again it was validation of there are people that have other abilities that we're just not aware of.
And what year was that, Jacqui?
It was early 90s, Paul, probably about 93, 94.
That's a shame, because you said he were an elderly chap then, so he might not be with us now. Because
No.
I think I'd have been trying to search him out and ask the questions now. I bet you thought that, have you?
Yeah. At the time, I was like, "Oh, I'm out of here. I'm not going back there." But now, obviously, I'd like to have known. How did he know?
Yeah. It's what he reading. There's loads of connotations.
Yeah.
Had he read your mind?
Yeah.
What was he onto something and could actually? I don't know.
Yeah.
Know what you and your friends, what kind of messages you were exchanging. It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
Any more questions, Les?
Oh, well, we've got John saying another great show.
Thank you, John. I was just hoping we might have had another question, because I know if I ask about the pub in the 2000s, we'll run over. So
we're a little bit twixt in between now. I'll go and have another look. See if anybody can get a last minute question in then.
Well, let's just jump to, while you're doing that, let's just jump to night people. What made you think that night people revived some of these memories? And night people's, this book, by the way, for anybody that didn't know.
So it wasn't the memories, Paul. It was that it reignited like a phenomenon. So I'd been having a type of night terror experience, which I don't think is typical night terrors, but it's probably the biggest catch-all. So I'm in half awake, half asleep state, but it's the one where you don't feel like you can't move, you can't scream, but in that state, I can hear a frequency, like a really low grinding frequency, and the frequency noise starts first, and then a pressure will come onto the bed, and then either be on me and that phenomena started again, but started big time as soon as I started reading Night People. And I'd read Truth Proof 1 to 3, nothing. Read Night People, it started and big time, and then read Truth Proof 4 and there was nothing. So it was Night People stirred something up.
It's interesting because I don't think, just like with tools that people use, tools we don't advocate, such as the Ouija board, that I think it's the mind that's focused, and I don't think that's got any magical properties. I think it's just put your mind into the zone, hasn't it? Yeah. I think personally, yeah.
And as I said earlier, I bought the book as a present for one of my friends, and I didn't tell him about my experience, but he's also experienced some things, shadow people, and some of the phenomena going on, a direct correlation to again opening something back up. Yeah. Having started to read Night People, which I found fascinating.
There's a phenomenon all in itself there, you know, Jack, I think, and Les, you know, not the book, the fact that when people start talking about these things after a long time, they almost feel like they're waking it up again. Yeah. And that's something we can throw out to you guys in chat and see whether that's occurred to you or has happened, because that's an interesting one to sort of collect that kind of data as well. And Les touched on it earlier, and the stratification tool, Don's reworked it. There's a link to download, guys, as a Word document. Download it, fill it in, send it back to email address, and myself and Martin will get that. So
Right.
thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you, Don.
Yeah, and Yorkshire Puffin gets the last word in here. Don't mention telepathy. Paul can't say it. I wonder if he can say it tonight. Give it a go, Paul.
I don't know what happened to me. Telepathy. And I can see a question there. I understand Russ Kellett has information on Hummonby. I very much doubt it, because there's only me knows them 3 witnesses. And I'm not just saying that to be secular. One of them only lives 200 yards from me. So there you go.
Right. Show's finished for tonight. And I've got to say thank you very much, Jack, for having the... for coming on, really. It's been absolutely amazing what you've been telling us.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. And it was
strength
really
and courage. That's the phrase I was looking for. The strength and courage to come on. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and as Paul said earlier, we do have a guest on. Who was the guest Thursday, Paul?
Tom Dongo, and he's UFO veteran ufologist. I think we're going to enjoy what he's got to share. Thank you.
And thanks, Jack. Thanks, Paul. And we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.